Thank you for the survey. Here are all the videos and some of the images taken during the survey. I aim to put it the right way up, but apologies if occasionally one or two films or videos are upside down or 90 degrees. The primary purpose is as a record of the conversation. The conclusions and recommended actions develop as we go along. I will list the items in the email and also on the YouTube video.
Yeah.
So you can see a couple of things. One, you've got two layers. So you've had two attempts at rising damp treatment. You've got what's called a French drain, which actually is counterproductive. You've got this band of damps on the bricks, and although that could just be from the rain last night or this morning, it's probably from hygroscopic salts, which is a type of salt that draws in the moisture from air, and they originate from a number of different sources, but the most common one is from the coals, from the use of coal historically. You haven't really got a chimney here. They can come from animal excretion, a horse.
I don't have any pets.
And so there may have been stables around here historically, but it doesn't really matter. They're in the brick. You're not going to get rid of them. They're there for forevermore until they're just a feature. And if you look around London, including on Downing Street, number 10 Downing Street, you'll see them. But they're different to say that this green, which is and the white salts, that those are calcium sulfate salts, and that's because you got new bricks there because you would have had a doorway that's been blocked up or something here. These are new bricks there, so it looks different. There's a break. This is damp here and then damp over there. But it's often used as a justification for rising damp treatment. You don't have any airflow from the back, so that's a separate thing.
That's my bedroom, yeah.
I know, but there should be airflow underneath the floor because you've got a suspended timber floor in a lot of the flat. The back of the flat has got solid floor, but that's where your issue is, on the solid floor. And we're going to have a look at you've got data loggers there, and we're going to have a look at those.
I've set them up.
Initial instincts are that you've got condensation for three reasons. One is that you've got corrosion in the pipes. Now, you can get corrosion from any source of water, but it's most commonly associated with condensation. You're in a bathroom, so you're bound to get a lot of vapor, humidity, and it's above a solid floor. And what can happen is you get condensation forming on the floor, and it rises upwards. You're obviously drying clothes, and I'll check the fan, but that's my initial instinct, but we'll have a look at that. And the fact that it's been damp-proofed twice before suggests that it's nothing to do with rising damp.
Right, okay.
The extractor fan doesn't go out, so if you press the... Okay, maybe it does. I'll check it outside now. The fan, I was just saying the fan goes out there and it is strong enough, so that's no problem. So this is using a thermal imaging camera, and you can see the zones of heat loss. Obviously you've got the heating on here, but what you often find, so it's going down to, in the corner there, it's 10 degrees centigrade. So we're just going to calibrate these. But I was saying that, so the temperature down at the base of the wall is 10 degrees centigrade. If the dew point is anywhere near that, you've got a risk of condensation, and this is the dew point. It's going up because I've only just taken it out of the bag. And isn't really doing anything. It's running at 1.5 litres. Should be running at 15. You can tell not much is coming out by the flaps. If we look in the flaps, we can see. I can probably guess what the problem is. It's difficult to know, but obviously I've taken the top off. I'm going to take this section off here as well. So this is the theoretical speed, which is 8.59. But I can actually clean it up, probably get it faster. But the problem is actually this ducting. Actually, the problem is you've got what's called flexible ducting, which is this plastic ducting with wire. And firstly, there's too much of it there. So it should be taut. It should be as long as it can stretch. When it gets compressed, all the wires get in the way. It's a bit like like an old camera. When it constricts around the centre, and it's stopping the airflow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean it up, so that make it faster anyway. I'll remove sections of the flexible ducting, but ideally you actually don't have flexible ducting, you have plastic rigid ducting, but it is quite difficult when you're going up and out to do that with a rigid duct.
Okay.
So you may not actually need flexible duct, you may not need any ducting at all, because there's no real harm in going straight out. I'll have a look anyway at that.
Okay.
Press the green number. Oh no, sorry. Start again. I'm just going to calibrate it, so you can see there's a slight difference between each one, and then with my hygrometer, which has been pre-calibrated. So I'll just change the numbers, and we'll take. So these have been calibrated. You see the dew point there. Dew point represents the amount of vapor in air.
Mm-hmm.
It's also the temperature where condensation takes place at. And this wall, it was about 10 degrees centigrade, and that dew point is 8.8. So it's below the outside, the temperature of the wall, but were it to be above that, you get condensation forming, and that's what you're getting. That's the problem. So what I'm going to get you to do is press the green number, any of them. That synchronises that particular data logger, draws the data down. There isn't a huge amount of data, as you set it up yesterday. If you do the X there, and then if you press the calculator sign, top right, exports, top right, and then export CSV at the bottom, and then send it to myself, simon@dampsurveys.com. And then, then that. And then if you can do the same for the other one. You'll have a film of it, so you can refer back to it.
Very simple.
There you go. So what would be useful is if you do an update in a week's time, and then we can see what the comparison is between before the vent, being improved and after. It may be that. So I'm going to give you a whole load of recommendations. I'll take you through them now anyway.
Yeah.
So with ventilation, with excess vapor, with condensation, you've got to look at it. 2 or 3 elements of it. One is the generation of the vapor. So you want to try and minimise the amount of vapor generated. So very simple things are like cooking with tops on pots and pans.
Okay.
With the drying clothes, ideally outside, or do you have a dehumidifier?
No, I don't. I have had ones in the past.
You should get a 20 litre
Yeah.
dehumidifier, which is a good place to find out. But as an example, Miyako is a good brand.
Where would that go? And that would just go in the bathroom?
Well, I would put it in essentially you want to put it either where the vapor's been generated or where you've got the damp problem. And since they're one in the same place, you might as well put it there.
Okay.
But whenever you're drying clothes internally, you should put a dehumidifier next to it. So one of the issues you've got is this pipe work here, and when the heating system isn't on, you'll get cold water running through it, or just a small amount of cold water in it, and that's why you get that's why you're getting corrosion down at the bottom there. It's you'll possibly find a lot of these issues actually take place around autumn when it's cold outside at night, but not cold enough for people to put the heating on.
Yeah.
So you end up having lots of condensation. But I'm going to go back to improving this now.
Okay.
Solved the noise, but it's now running at about 13 and a half. I've taken this bit out and I've cleaned it up, and that should go a long way to solve the problem. So I have managed to increase it to 13 litres or 11, 12 litres a second. Should be 15 ideally, but I would use a continuous flow bathroom extractor fan when you're ready to do any work. Don't rush to do it. It's not far off, but yeah. Well, I'll do a bit of a summary now. I recommend any homeowner buy is one of these. They cost about £20. Called Dr. Meter Moisture Meter. And you can see there's dampness in the wall, but it's actually close to the radiator, and then obviously the base of the wall, which is where you would expect it. That's typical of condensation. And here, so you got calcium sulfate salts. I would try and keep stuff away from that, although you're probably keeping it there to hide it. You've got a bit of mould there as well. Mould only grows with relative humidity, goes above 85%. Don't worry too much about it, it's not a big deal. You just use HG anti-mold spray. It's only very lightly, but
I need to get rid of that.
It will have grown during the period in autumn when you get when it gets cold at night, but heating isn't put on. Okay. So in summary, what you have is standard condensation from insufficient ventilation. The bathroom extractor fan wasn't working, and obviously you're drying clothes there, and it's near the kitchen. The whole series of things that I would do, but longer term I would look to put in a continuous flow bathroom extractor fan and run a dehumidifier. But if you cook with tops on pots and pans, and be really careful about using the kitchen vent whenever.
Always turning it on. I don't really turn it on, so I probably should stop doing that. Yeah.
But you know, if you're cooking pastas or anything like that, they produce lots of vapour. Best thing to do is you can turn the heat down and put a top on it, and you still boiling, still 100 degrees centigrade, but it's not throwing out lots of vapour. You can reduce the amount of vapour by 80% from that.
Noted.
Drying clothes, only dry clothes with a dehumidifier, and try and use the outside as much as possible. Now, although the damp issue is in the bathroom, I would still try and contain it in the bathroom. It's better to have a damp bathroom than dampness there, and I would try and keep the door closed to the bathroom as much as possible.
Okay, yeah.
And as I say, use a continuous flow bathroom extractor fan. And
I think that may just, because usually it's so difficult, because
well,
what I'll just have to do is that bin will have to move somewhere else.
Yeah,
and
so increase the airflow there. So the other things I would do are monitor. Get yourself a Dr. Meter Moisture Meter, and then you can monitor, and it will dry from the top downwards, and then use the data loggers. And I'm going to, what I do is I do properties in batches of about 20.
Okay.
And I'm looking specifically at the dew point, and I'll put all the dew points together, and you can see where you are amongst all the other properties. So if you send me data in a week's time.
Yep. Just like that with pressing the green.
Yeah.
And
I've got
CVS,
it on here, and you'll get a copy of this. And then I will deep dive into one or two properties, probably properties where there's they're in the middle of sale, so there's some contention.
Right, okay.
And then you can look to see how you can do it yourself.
And now, where should I leave these?
Back in the places that you had before.
I can't remember which one was which.
Oh yeah, so the where it's got B, that's bathroom.
That's bathroom,
and that's kitchen.
So I'll put that where it was.
Yeah. Rising damp is largely a myth, especially in London, where rising damp comes from groundwater, and it's pumped out of the ground in London, so you don't get it in London. But there are plenty of companies that makes lots of money from rising damp treatment. You've had rising damp treatment twice here. If it worked, you wouldn't have damp, and yet you don't, and that's because it's nothing to do with rising damp. It's to do with condensation, which will tend to be drawn down to the base of the wall through gravity.
Okay.
And the base of the wall tends to be the coldest part, so that's the most vulnerable to dampness. So it's the opposite. You could think of it as falling damp.
Yeah.
But anyway, that doesn't have such a good marketing ring to it. Small addendum, you don't have a through flow of air from the back of the property, so you're not getting adequate ventilation in the subfloor void or cellar. What I would do is I would monitor it. I would you can get another data logger and put it in the cellar, and just make sure that you're not getting lots of vapour in the cellar, because it's not that you've got a problem, but you don't want there to be a problem.
Yeah,
and if you had a leak, you would get a big spike in the dew point in the cellar and the relative humidity, and you could end up having rot if you weren't careful.
Okay.
So it's nothing to do with the damp here. But
just keep an eye on it.
I get yourself another data logger and leave it in the cellar. I've created an AI system for data loggers, and the more information you give it, the better the response will be.
Yeah. So that's your app.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. Oh no, not this one. No, that just collects the data. My app is for the analysing it. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So you have got vents to the front, which is great, but then you're not getting the through flow of ventilation, but it's not the cause of your internal dampness. It's just something to be aware of.